Hey, 555ers, Andrew here. Today I've got a double first look at two new Seiko 5 watches which I purchased for review here on the channel. On my right we have the Seiko 5 SRPB93, the Seiko Hulk as it is seemingly called affectionately. A handsome 44mm dive watch with a unidirectional rotating bezel. And on my right, we have the Seiko SRPB25 in beautiful blue with an inner rotating red bezel. In this video, I'm going to abstain from giving you my opinions on either of these watches. I'll save that for the full review that you'll get respectively on each of these watches. I intend to do 2 reviews, but I thought you might be interested in seeing these side by side. And also, this is going to give you a chance to consider the specs of these watches apart from the review content that I will produce once I've had a better chance to wear these watches and get my full opinion. So stay tuned if you want to just learn more about these watches. If you're considering buying them and you just want to see what the specs look like and get my initial thoughts about these watches, I'm going to refrain from a full out review. Stay tuned and we will cover both of these interesting Seiko 5 divers. First we have the Seiko 5 SRPB93, the Hulk. This is a 44mm dive watch. It's 13mm thick and it has 22mm lugs. I've taken it off of the factory oyster style bracelet and put it on a Havastan NATO strap just because I've started wearing this watch already. As you can see, we can just talk through some of the specifications here. It has a unidirectional rotating bezel. This is an aluminum insert here on the bezel. With a triangle mark at noon. Doesn't have lume, unfortunately. On the dial of the watch we have a flat Hardlex crystal, which is Seiko's proprietary mineral crystal. I do think that it is a step above standard mineral crystals. On the dial we have a very nice stainless steel seconds track actually on the dial, which is an interesting solution with Seiko's known QC problems lining up chapter rings. Eliminate the chapter ring and put it on the dial and you don't seem to have the same problems. And we have the kind of classic Submariner layout, but we have a different take on the sword hands and a polished seconds hands here, in addition to the 3 lines of text, including 100 meters of water resistance. So you can see that there's no threaded crown on this Seiko dive watch. We have 100 meters or 300 feet of water resistance and a non-threaded unsigned crown. On the side here you can see that the bezel is quite tall. It's an exaggerated coin edge bezel, polished all around on the sides of the case. Top of the case is brushed. We have pierced lugs, which is very nice, and we have a simple date aperture here. Another interesting, in my opinion, improvement on the Seiko 5 apertures, and that is an indication of something that I really do like about this watch. I'll show you my hand a little bit. This watch does come with a 4R35 movement. This movement doesn't look like much, and I do have the sticker still on this watch, but this is a hacking and hand winding movement from Seiko that is also found in their higher level prospect divers. It has a 41-hour power reserve. This particular example has the date complication on it. This 4R36 movement is definitely an improvement over the 7S26 movement that we've seen in previous iterations of Seiko 5 watches. All told, I decided to get the SRPB93 or the Hulk in for review because in particular I enjoy the green dial on this watch. It's reminiscent of the Seiko Alpinist. In the full review, we'll actually do a side-by-side comparison. I love the guild indices and the applied 5 shield with the red text. And then I think it's an interesting solution to have the seconds track actually on the dial in stainless, which is very attractive in my opinion, and also helps this relatively large 44mm watch wear smaller. Here it is side by side to the Seiko Turtle, and as you can see, the dial is a little bit larger. This watch is definitely lighter, and in the full review we'll get more into the build quality differences. Alright, next up is the Seiko SRPB25, part of a series or a family of compressor dive watches that Seiko released in the last year for the entry level. So it's very cool. We have bi-directional rotating bezel, internally rotating, very cool feature for an affordable watch. And as you can see, I went with the blue and red configuration. I just thought it was pretty and different. There's a very nice black and gray configuration out there as well. This iteration comes with a oyster style bracelet, which I have not yet sized. Does not have a diving clasp on it. It's just a standard stamped clasp. And like the Seiko 5 SRPB93 that we looked at, this also comes with the 4R series movement. In this case, it is the 4R36 movement rather than the 4R35, because this has the day and date aperture on the dial. And in this case, again, we are looking at a sunburst metallic dial in blue. In this case, we have the Seiko and 5 shield applied again with the red text, but the rest of the dial is painted indices on the track, as well as the main indices, and then of course on the bezel. And on the seconds hand, notably, we do have a lollipop loom plot. So that is one difference. The red capped seconds hand is also a noteworthy difference, a little bit more diver-esque. No pierced lugs on this case, coming in a little bit thicker actually. This one it looks to me like it's about 14 millimeters thick, 42 millimeter case, 22 millimeter lugs, and again a Hardlex crystal on this watch. So side by side, these watches look pretty similar, 42 millimeters, 44 millimeters. In either case, you have 22 millimeter lugs. Both of them have unthreaded crowns. Of course, you have the dual crowns on the Compressor. You have the unidirectional bezel on the Hulk, and on the Compressor you have a bi-directional bezel. Differences include the date apertures and the way that the indices are applied to the dial. Two very different and complementary dive watches from Seiko 5's collection that I thought you would enjoy today. Guys, let me know what questions or first impressions you have of these watches. If you own either of them, I'd love to hear from you about accuracy and just hear about how they are treating you. Very curious to get your thoughts on these watches. Please stay tuned for a full review where I will get into the things that I love about these watches, the problems I have, and my analysis and comparison with some other divers as well. In the meantime, I appreciate your thumbs up. Please do kindly leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed getting a quick look at these watches, and you can stay tuned again for the full review of each of these watches forthcoming. If you're new to the channel here, I want to invite you to hit subscribe so that you can get more wristwatch content as well as more gear content. Let me know where you're coming from. If you're a new subscriber, I always like to find out where my new subscribers are subscribing from. I am coming from Minnesota. Glad to bring you this wristwatch content today. And as always, guys, thanks so much for watching 555 Gear.